I've been waiting for this one. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Was It Good? My name is Bob, and after almost 2 years, we finally get to talk about Season 2, Episode 1 of House of the Dragon.
He can keep his tongue.
I appreciate that, Damon. Now, before I get into the review, I want to let you know this review is going to be spoiler-free, so if you haven't seen the episode, you don't need to worry about spoilers. But if you have seen it, I'd like to know what you thought about it. Why don't you go ahead and share your comments in the comments section below? Let me know what you thought about it. Did you like the episode? Did you like Season 1? Are you looking forward to the rest of Season 2? I'd really like to know what you think. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's get to it. Episode 1 of Season 2, titled A Son for a Son, picks up a few days after the death of Prince Lucerys. As Alicent grows concerned by Aegon's small council, Rhaenyra arrives at a fateful decision. Now, as I said, it's been almost 2 years since Season 1 came out, and lately I've been watching a lot of bad television, so this really felt like a breath of fresh air.
Thank God.
There are several good things that I can say about this premiere, and the first thing I'm going to say is I think that the show does an effective job at bringing the viewer back into the world of Game of Thrones, and it does so by reintroducing the audience to familiar places, character names, and music that just lets you know you're back in the world of Game of Thrones. So I really appreciated that about the opening of the episode. The next thing I really liked was the fact that the show picks up just a few days after the events of Season 1. And Season 1 ended with such a cliffhanger, and I actually rewatched Season 1 prior to watching Season 2. So because of that cliffhanger and the recent rewatch, I was gearing up, ready to go to know what happens next. So it was nice being able to just jump right back into the events or into the story and be following exactly what was happening. As far as the scope and the visuals and everything, it's still just on a grand scale like it was in Season 1. Everything feels big in this, whether it's the world or the dragons, and everything looks great. The costumes are good. The visuals are great. And I really enjoy just the epic scale of this show. And that has continued into Season 2. Acting performances, I think, were really good throughout the first episode. And I think Matt Smith does a great job as Daemon Targaryen once again. Every time he's on screen, I'm just drawn to this character. I was in Season 1, and I'm continuing that into Season 2. A great performance. Emma D'Arcy, great performance as Rhaenyra. And what's interesting about this performance is Rhaenyra has maybe one line of dialogue in this episode, and yet it's through Rhaenyra's eyes that you can feel exactly what she's feeling. And it's just a great performance throughout as a grieving mother and having to come to decisions as to where things are going to go. Again, just a great performance. And I thought Tom Glyn Carney as Aegon, this is a performance that really surprised me, because Aegon is an interesting character because I don't know where he's coming from at times. I don't know if he's being serious or if he's just blowing things off, or if he really wants to be a good king, well, what he considers a good king, and have people view him in a very positive light. But at times it just seems like he's blowing things off and whatnot. So it's hard to know where he's coming from. And yet it's such an effective performance, and I really enjoyed him in Episode 1. And finally, when it comes to things that I like, just like in typical Game of Thrones fashion, there's a lot of surprises, and the episode ends on a cliffhanger that apparently is going to define where the rest of the season goes. And it ends in a very brutal fashion, very much in the Game of Thrones feel and tone. And I just happen to really think that this was just a good episode, and the ending just left me with a jaw wide open. Overall, great start to the season as far as things that I like. There's only a couple things to mention as far as things I didn't like, and the first is not really anybody's fault. They tried to keep the same cast, and they tried to carry the story over just a few days later from the events of Season 1, but because there's actually a difference in production time from Season 1 to Season 2 of almost 2 years, some of the younger actors, especially like Rhaenyra's oldest son, you can actually see there is a difference in the actor, and this is only supposed to be a few days later, so that was a little jarring in a few spots. But again, it's nobody's fault. It's just kind of the way that it played out. And the second thing was the character, I believe her name is Masseria. She's known as the White Worm. I didn't quite understand how her character ended up where she did in this episode. And I'll probably need to go back and rewatch it, and maybe I'll catch it a little bit better the second time. But that was just something that came to my mind that I didn't quite understand that. But otherwise, these were the only two things that I didn't like, at least on the first viewing. Bottom line, was it good? I thought this was a solid episode. I really enjoyed the fact that they drew me right back into the world of Game of Thrones. I like the fact that the episode just picks up a few days after the events of season 1, and it was nice to have some well-written or have a well-written story and be left on a cliffhanger that left me with my jaw dropped and looking forward to seeing what happens with the rest of the season. Overall, a very solid premiere. Now, if you're still watching, I'd like to thank you for sticking around. Don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested, I do have another YouTube channel with a couple of my friends where we put on a show called Dad's Turn to Talk. This is an opportunity for three dads to get together and talk about the things that we want to talk about, including sports and movies and pop culture, and have a little bit of fun at each other's expense. So the link to that channel will be in the description below. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.